Man, I feel like these videos just don't stop, and that's probably because they don't. I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is my top 100 games of all time as of 2021. That title is obnoxious every single time I say it, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's the most descriptive thing I've got, or at least according to one person, the most descriptive thing I've got would be, this is my top 100 of all time, including only games that I've owned, but not games I have gotten rid of in any way, shape, or form, and also only including games that are already released as of 2021, but for all time. Yeah, it doesn't fit in the thumbnail. It doesn't fit in the YouTube thingy. There's a limit of 100 characters in a YouTube title, in case you didn't know that. That does not. It just misses the cutoff, I believe. Like by 2,000 words or something like that. Anyways, what am I doing here? This is the top 100 games. We are currently doing numbers 60 through 51. There are 5 videos, four... I can count, I'm telling you I can. There are 4 videos, although if you eventually get around to watching my Marvel Zombies playthrough, apparently I can't count, so we'll check that out. That's going to be over on Quackalope's channel sometime when Marvel Zombies becomes a thing, a Kickstarter that people are doing. Unrelated. Let's talk about that another time. Number 60 through 51. That's what we're doing here. Usual thing is I do these lists through PubMeeple. I'll have a link down below. PubMeeple basically gives you a this or that choice, this, that. Do you want this or that? And eventually spits out your ranking. From there, I customize it to actually match what I rank, because once in a while, it's very good. It does a good job of telling me what my ranking is because it's asking me questions and providing an answer. But once in a while, I'm like, nope, I actually like this more than that, no matter what I answered on your thing, so go jump in a lake. Any case, I'll have a link to that down below. I'll have timestamps to absolutely everything. And this has been a good 3 minutes wasted, as usual. Welcome to Board Game Co. This is what we do here. Starting off with number 60. Oh, and before we go into that, let's waste another minute talking about this list. This is number 60 through 51. We'll have more games coming, 5 more videos after this in the top 100. On this particular 10 games, on this batch of games, we have 4 that are new to me. I believe, I haven't gone through every single thing, I believe this is the video that has the most that are completely new to me in one segment. I think roughly 20 to 25% of my top 100 are games that I haven't, had on my list before. And well, this is one of them. This is new to me. 4 games that are new to me. 1 game that is new to this list, but not new to me, meaning I've had it, I've played it, but it's not new to me. I just didn't have it in my top 100 before. Then we have 2 games I haven't played since last year, which is relevant. I'll explain that in a second. Let me explain that now, actually, because I had one person comment. I've talked about how in these videos, recency bias plays a part. If I've played a game, it will likely move up in the rankings if it's a game I like, because I'm reminded, oh my gosh, that is such a satisfying experience. That's why I own that game. And so it moves up a few notches, because I remember why I like it, why I own it, why I keep it, and why I should play it more often. So I had one person comment, does that mean this is really your top 100 games that you've played in the past year? And the answer is no. There are very few games in this top 100 that I have not played in this past year, but 2 of those, maybe 4 or 5, are on this particular video. 10 games, whatever. Oh, and then also, we're just breaking all kinds of records here. The other one we have is this, I think, is the highest grouping of Kickstarter games. 7 of these games, potentially 6, I'm going to call it 6, but potentially 7, we'll talk about it, are Kickstarter games. A lot of the games on this particular list are Kickstarter games, even though some of them don't feel like your typical Kickstarter bloat kind of situation. Starting off with one of those, which is going to be number 60, Empire's Age of Discovery from Glenn Drover. Glenn Drover, who's typically associated with Lizard Wizard, that's wrong, that's the name of the game he designed, typically associated with Forbidden Games, and he has a whole bunch of games with them, but he had Empire's Age of Discovery, or Age of Empires 3 way back, and then they rebranded or rebooted this over on Kickstarter. I haven't played the original, I have played this. This is magnificent. Also, it's a Kickstarter game. Also, it's a game I haven't played in the past year. I really need to table it. It's a little hard to get it to the table, but it's so good when we do. The building of your buildings, the worker placements, the colonization, the way it handles it in an abstracted way, the way you turn your workers into specialists, and you try to get the various buildings that will capitalize and play off that. Really, really solid game. It has the Builders expansion already built into it, because the original game had a separate Builders expansion. This one included it in it. I really, really like this game. This one actually has dropped, as you might imagine, for a game that hasn't been played in the past year. This one was 40 for me last year, 60 for me now. Still a solid game, one that I really need to table, and it's not even that long. Like, I mean, it's relatively long, but it's not that long compared to some of the games I table. I don't know why I haven't played it in so long ago. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Now, this doesn't really feel like a Kickstarter game, probably because it wasn't originally. They brought it back to Kickstarter, so it didn't start off as a game that had to prove itself on Kickstarter with 14 expansions and 700 miniatures. It does have miniatures. It does have some nice little coins and different things. I like this game. Empire's Age of Discovery from Glendrover. I like this one. I think I've said that 4 times. It's in my top 100. That is how this list works, which brings us to number 59. Number 59, if I can find it, because it's tiny, is Skulls of Sedlec. Another Kickstarter game that doesn't feel like a Kickstarter game. You see, Button Shy Games does a lot of these little wallet-sized games. Most of them show up in their regular, well, monthly Kickstarter. Occasionally they don't. But Skulls of Sedlec is by far my favorite one, which, yes, that does mean there are no more Button Shy games on my top 100. Sprawlopolis has already been on here. Circle the Wagons has already been on here. I think those are the only 2 that are on here. I've recently been playing Rove, their newest one, and while I do like Rove, I'm not yet ready to place it in the top 100. I need to play it a lot more. I can see it creeping in, but I think it's probably just outside my top 100. We'll find out next year, either way. But Skulls of Sedlec is delightful. Oh, and then the other ones they have, like, I like, but I don't have them. I think I have 3 in my top 100, which is pretty good, honestly. For 18 cards, plus expansions, it's pretty good to have 3 of these in my top 100. There's a lot you can do with 18 cards, and Button Shy certainly knows how to do it. Skulls of Sedlec is my favorite, just because, first of all, I like the art. The art speaks to me in ways that, you know, that little skulls going on, you can't see much here. The other side's prettier. But basically, you're going to be putting out a bunch of graveyards, and then on your turn, you're going to be taking cards from those graveyards, and then adding them to your hand. Then you can take from face-off cards, or you can flip over 2 ones to see what you want, but then you're committing to one of those cards, and then you're trying to build out your little pyramid. And each card has different types and the ways they score. You're going to have royals, you're going to have prisoners, you're going to have guards, you're going to have all these different types of cards, peasants, lovers, priests, all these different things. They all score in different ways. And so the balance of the game is how do you build out your pyramid in a way that optimizes the scoring mechanism. I like games that optimize scoring mechanisms, and this one is the most condensed, streamlined version of any of those games. Really solid game, plays primarily at 2 players. Once you have the expansion content, it more easily plays at 3 or whatnot. I think you can play the game at 3 even with just the 18, but it's a little less satisfying because your pyramid's smaller. When you have expansion content, you potentially could add more to build out a proper 3-player game. I really like this one. It's a lot of fun. Skulls of Sedlec. And it's tiny and cheap and fits anywhere. Basically anywhere. Watch, you can just go ahead and... No, I'm not gonna do that. That would be weird. Anyways, moving on. That's just a little button uncome there. We're going to go ahead with my number 58. I thought it'd be funny to just dump this down my shirt, but that's weird. 58. 58 is Assassin's Creed. Oh, and Skulls of Sedlec. I'm sorry, I just skipped this. Skulls of Sedlec is new to me. I had not played this one last year, so it's new to me. It's one of those. Moving on to 58. 58, which will be Assassin's Creed. Now, I did not grab the big giant box because it's hard enough to get 10 games onto the table in general, let alone adding giant boxes. Assassin's Creed is number 58, and it's one that I do not know if it'll be in my top 100 next year. Not because it's not a good game, but because I think Assassin's Creed is absolutely phenomenal. For those who don't know, Assassin's Creed is the newer version of V Commandos, which has since been rebranded to V Sabotage from Triton Noir. I always enjoyed V Commandos quite a bit, but Assassin's Creed took it up a level to a degree. You see, Assassin's Creed added a campaign, but it also solved a lot of the small nitpicky complaints I have around V Commandos. The general premise of the game is that you're playing as a bunch of characters who have certain objectives they're trying to accomplish, and you're trying to stealthily move your way through, well, the areas. That's the general idea of V Commandos and Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed takes the Commandos formula and puts it onto Assassin's Creed, the video game, that theme. So you have Ezio Auditorio, or you actually technically have random assassins, and you could run into Ezio, all those things. But you're going to have your assassins trying to accomplish objectives, wandering around the map, trying to stay undercover for as long as possible. Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, gives you a lot more mitigation around the types of unlucky events that would otherwise happen. One of my big complaints around the general system is that the stealth system is really well done, the alarm system is really well done, the whole tenseness and objectives and everything else around the system is the best stealth game I've played in board games in general. But even though it's the best system I've played, V Commandos is a little bit more subject to random things happening that you're like, I planned for the best, and boom, I rolled a die and now I'm detected. Oh well. And Assassin's Creed gives you a lot more mitigation around that, a lot more stuff that takes a little bit away from the complete randomness of just getting hit. And there still is randomness. You still eventually will roll a die and get detected, but you can mitigate that a lot longer and a lot more effectively with the things it introduced. The problem and the downside for me is it also introduced a campaign, which while I like it to a degree, campaigns are always harder for me because the next time I want to play Assassin's Creed, it's not just like I want to play Assassin's Creed, it's that I want to play Assassin's Creed from where I left off. And that's a whole nother game, like, okay, what was I doing? How far was I into? Did I properly sort the equipment and all the stuff last time? It basically adds a degree of barrier to gameplay. Now, as far as this right now it's 58. It is a game that's new to me, although again, technically its predecessor, V Commandos, was not new to me. That one's already existed. Assassin's Creed to me is a better gameplay experience than V Commandos or V Sabotage. I don't know how that will change when I play with the V Sabotage expansions, which are coming out. But as far as Assassin's Creed, as far as Brotherhood of Venice goes, I really like it. It's really solid. For me, I think I'm going to play through the campaign. It's probably going to leave my collection. It's not because of the nature of the one-shot aspect or not one-shot aspect. And there are technically a few one-shot missions, I believe. I have to double-check. Like little side missions or whatever it is. But I think it's a game that, once I'm done playing the campaign, I have a choice to make. Do I keep it around to go through the campaign again, which I absolutely could, but that doesn't feel like something I would do. There's already so many games out there and so many campaigns out there, so I think I play this one to completion, and then I get rid of it, despite the fact that it's an excellent experience. It begs the question. It's a video I plan on doing at some point about the nature of, when are you truly done with a game? What's that point in line? But either way, that is Assassin's Creed number 58, which brings us to number 57. Number 57 is a game that I have not played in quite some time, but I blame Jesse Anderson, I blame Quackalope for that. That is Destinies. Destinies is my 57. This is another of the new to me. This is the third of the 4 new to me games. Destinies from Lucky Duck Games was such a good experience. So, we got this game. Destinies is it's a competitive game. You could play it solo, but it's ideally a competitive game where you get a mission, a kind of a destiny you're going for, hence the name Destinies, and then you pull out your app. Yes, it is an app-based game. Yes, I also do not like app-based games. Yes, Lucky Duck has historically been the exception to that rule. I'm sure other companies will follow. So far, Lucky Duck is the exception to me not liking app-based games, and multiple accounts, by the way. Quest of the Moonstones, Chronicles of Crime, Destinies. I tend to be fine with the app-based games Lucky Duck puts out. Just I don't know what it is about them, but either way, either way. So, Destinies. Destinies, you get your destiny, you pull out your app, you start exploring the map, and you try to accomplish your mission, your objective. I have really loved every single game I've played of this. The problem is I started this game with Jesse and Shira, and theoretically, from Quackalope, and theoretically we plan on continuing together, but we have not done so in a while, which means at a certain point, it's going to be time to find new friends. I mean, I should find new friends anyways, and continue playing through Destinies, or start again, something about it. I really like it. It's such a fun experience. It's a little bit light on the gameplay, but it still gives you a decent amount of choice around it. I will say there is a degree of randomness. You make choices, and then you don't know how things play out. So I have complaints, I have critiques, I have nitpicks, but the experience is delightful. Really, really enjoying Destinies. Curious to see how it continues. I have all the expansion content, and I haven't needed to go through it because that darn Quackalope's always so busy. So am I, for that matter, but I'm going to blame him for this one, because this way I can. That is my number 57, which brings us to my number 56. Number 56, which saw a big drop from last year, a big drop, and that's because I've only played it, you know what, I've only played it once since last year, but I don't know if I'm willing to blame it on that. I don't know why. I think it's dropped not because I've only played it once, but because I realize how hard it is to table. This one's Rum Bones, which is really heavy because I have all the maps in here. Sorry about that. This is like all the maps for all the stuff. I have like 14 boxes for it. It is what it is. These are all the boards, all the ships. So this is a very heavy box. But Rum Bones from Command Games, 2nd edition specifically. I highly recommend if you're checking this game out, check out the 2nd edition, not the 1st edition. 2nd edition is much better. Rum Bones is basically a MOBA style game, multiplayer online battle arena, often most associated with League of Legends, but some other games as well. The general game system, and this is a game system. MOBAs as a game system haven't done before. Guards of Atlantis has done it. Sky Tier has done it. I want to say there's another one. What am I forgetting? There's 4, I think. I think there's 4 that are often popularly known. There's Rum Bones, there's Sky Tier, there's Guards of Atlantis. I think there's another one, right? Either way, I don't remember what the other one is. So, Rum Bones. Rum Bones, to me, implements the MOBA mechanics the best of those games. And the heroes, the giant pile of heroes I have, because I have a giant pile of heroes, they all offer you powers and abilities and ways to jump into the experience and ways to level up your heroes and just attack people in fun, innovative, creative ways, and I really, really, really like it. But it's a little much to pull out and set up. I have a lot of content. It's one of those times where having enough content as much as I do does make it harder to table. I have to pull out like 4 giant boxes to actually get this one tabled because of how the stuff is divided up. Then additionally, it's also a game that is primarily a 2-player experience. You could play it in teams, you could, but it's primarily a game I play out at 2 players. And then additionally, it's going to run you 90 minutes to 2 hours. The combination of all those factors means it doesn't, and it takes up a lot of table space too. And additionally, it takes up a lot of table space. The combination of all those factors means that Rum Bones does not get tabled often. But man, do I like it. Like right now, like it's 56 right now, but I'm like, I like it so much. It's hard. It's hard liking games. You have to pick and choose which goes where and what happens. It's a moment of silence for the 40 spots that Rum Bones has dropped. Yeah, Rum Bones is a really delightful experience. It really captures the MOBA genre. It gives you powers and abilities. It's near infinite variability, especially if you have more and more content for the game. I don't know if it's really in print. Come on, I don't think this one's like a heavily exposed campaign that really goes around. This is designed by Michael Chanel, by the way, who, fun fact, is the designer of Marvel Zombies, or one of the designers. He's also the designer of the new Master of the Universe and of Bloodborne. Did not like Bloodborne. Really like Master of the Universe, and really love Marvel Zombies. Let's not get sidetracked, though. Let's come back to this list over here. Marvel Zombies doesn't count for this because it's, you know, whatchamacallit, not out. It's not actually out. It's not even on Kickstarter yet. Anyways, let's go ahead. Rum Bones, Second Tide, really fantastic experience. Lots of content for it. Dropped from 18 to 56, but it's still my go-to recommendation for MOBAs. I love Guards of Atlantis. I love Sky Tier, but this Rum Bones is, it's hard. It's hard. You see Sky Tier. Let's not talk about Sky Tier just yet. Let's talk about Sky Tier in a little bit. In any case, no, not in the rest of this video. That's not what I meant. So, let's go ahead to number 55. Number 55 is new to this list, but not new to me. 55 is a game I've had in my collection for like 3 or 4 years, depending on how you count it, because technically, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is new to me this year, but Gloomhaven is not. Also, this is why I said 6 or 7 Kickstarters. See, Destinies is another Kickstarter, so is Rum Bones. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is not. Gloomhaven is. So that's the whole conversation there. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, which is basically set up underneath this table, by the way. This table's from Band Pass Design. Link in the description of all my videos in case you want to check it out. Solid table. Really enjoy it. Again, we're not talking about that today. I'm just getting all kinds of sidetracked. But Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is fantastic. I put out a video this past year saying that I have to play these games or else that I would get rid of them, or else. That's what I meant. And Gloomhaven was on that list. And Gloomhaven I pulled out that week, brushed up on the rules, or specifically read the rules of Jaws of the Lion, because I've only ever played original Gloomhaven, and I started getting it tabled. It's underneath this table. I'm like 8 or 9 plays in. I slowed down a bit. I got like 5 or 6 plays in the first week or two, and then started to spread it out and getting a play a weekend or something like that. But still solidly enjoying Gloomhaven. And I always liked Gloomhaven. I always did. That was never the question. There's a reason that giant box stayed in my collection for 3 years. There's a reason I picked up Forgotten Circles for a game I wasn't playing. There's a reason I picked up Jaws of the Lion and then didn't play that for another year and a half. It's because I always did appreciate what Gloomhaven was doing. But see the Rum Bones for the fact that games that are hard to table sometimes don't get tabled. Gloomhaven did not get tabled for a reason. Jaws of the Lion was my incentive to finally get this one off the shelf of shame and onto the table, and it is so ridiculously good. Gloomhaven is such a puzzle. It's such a masterfully well done puzzle with the variable characters, the enemies you'll be dealing with, the randomness of the AI, the decision points around how you play your cards, how you match up your cards. It is thinky, it is brain burnery, it is dungeon crawlery, it is a puzzle of a game, a solidly enjoyable experience, and one that I can easily recommend, specifically Jaws of the Lion. I think you have to, like, if I could do one thing for the sake of gamedom, it would be making it so that in order to buy Gloomhaven, you have to, like, do the fine print of being like, I've played Jaws of the Lion. I think it's such an accessible entry point that once you play through this, jump into Gloomhaven. But until then, you're basically signing up for something that might be amazing and work for you. I mean, it was amazing for many people before Jaws of the Lion existed. But for many people, it's also not a fit, because for many people, it's like a big obligation that you never really dive into. I think Jaws of the Lion is just a much better entry point to the system, and will then launch people into Gloomhaven with a higher percentage chance of success. It's not that I don't think Gloomhaven can work for many people, it's that I think that it will work for some and fail for others, and Jaws of the Lion will be basically a testing point while giving you great gameplay along the way. Jaws of the Lion is fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it going through. I'm playing it right now primarily two-handed. I have a friend who basically I convinced him to buy a copy. We're going to be going through some stuff together as well, so we'll be doing some solo, some together. It's just such a good game. You play the top card of one, you play the top of one, the bottom of the other, you think through both characters, how they're going to operate, you think through the puzzle of what you can do, what you can get away with, what your equipment will do. It's just a tactical puzzle, and it's a hard one too. This is not a walk in the park at all. This is a game that forces you to think, forces you to look at the map, to check out the state of what's going on, and to figure out how you can survive, how you can get through to the end, ideally winning, and with as much loot as possible along the way. Really solid puzzle. That's Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, which may or may not be a Kickstarter, may or may not be new to me. It depends which way you count it in terms of the Gloomhaven bundle of things. Next up, we have number 54. Number 54, another Kickstarter, and another one that's dropped because I haven't played it, although I really do plan on playing it, which is Machina Arcana. Machina Arcana, this new box is upside down, isn't it? It's upside down. Machina Arcana, this new box over here, this is such a good game. It's such a ridiculously good game. It's one that I have not played in over a year. This is the second one on the list, along with this one that I have not played in over a year. So it has dropped. It was 16 for me last year. 16 because it's so good when I pull it out, when I table it, it is so good. Like Gloomhaven is another dungeon crawler. I still prefer Machina Arcana over Gloomhaven by like an entire spot, I guess. Not Gloomhaven, Machina Arcana is a puzzle of wandering through a dungeon and trying to activate levers and traps and do what you need to do to survive in this slightly steampunk, slightly Cthulhu-ish universe. The gear is so much fun. I love the gear, trying to get the various pieces that you can just break the world, break the abilities. There's like one piece of gear I saw, I have never actually played with it, but I've seen it when I did my unboxing, where you basically just like blow up a map tile. That's so freaking cool. I love it. I love it. I love the puzzle of trying to survive in Machina Arcana. Very different system than Gloomhaven. Very different. They're both amazing while being very, very, very different. I don't know which one's more accessible. There's a lot more rules to read. I think this one will get you a lot, to the table a lot faster. I think that because of the way this is structured as an entry point, I think it'll get you moving faster. But Machina Arcana, you want to read the Learn to Play booklet, which will kind of walk you through a bunch of turns, and then you can just dive into it from there. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot going on. You have to focus a lot more on upkeep steps than anything else, but it's so rewarding as you try to survive, as you find fun things that let you survive, as you slowly escalate to that point where you are now stronger than the things chasing you down. But it'll take time to get there. It'll take work, it'll take time, it'll take actions, it'll take finding workbenches, upgrading your gear, activating traps to destroy the things along the way, because at the beginning, you're not going to be able to take them down. They will slow you down, they will entangle you, and they will basically clog your ability to win through the scenario. Machina Arcana is so delightful. This is the 3rd edition of the game. I think it's 2.5 or something like that. But it's so ridiculously good, and I can't wait to dive back into it. I need to. Number 53. 53 is City of Spies, Estoril 1942. This is one that I actually finally just reviewed. I've had this in my collection for like 6 years, 5 years, something like that. Finally just reviewed it this past week, I want to say. It's always tricky working with video timelines, what I filmed, when they went up, all of that. But City of Spies is such a ridiculously good puzzle. This is my number 53 this year, and last year, it dropped. It dropped last year. Last year was 52. This year's 53. It dropped a whole point, and it's so good. There's no really good reason for the drop. It's just such a good experience. It is such a mind... You're thinking through how other players are activating and how you're going to mess with them. The idea of it is this kind of worker placement with spies, with abilities. So you're placing down these spies to recruit other spies effectively. So you have these locations, you have these spies you're trying to recruit, you place down your spies in order to both activate the ability of the spot you place in, as well as to be mindful of the fact that you're trying to compete for having the most strength in a region. Then you eventually start resolving regions, and you flip over the spies in that region, you start activating their abilities, which is where it really gets screwy quickly, because you can start killing people, you can start seducing people and moving them around the board. You can start doing a whole bunch of things to mess with other players. You can use your diplomats to protect others, but it's all a game of trying to predict and anticipate what your opponents will do and trying to ensure that they cannot predict or anticipate what you will do. Whoever solves that puzzle better will win at City of Spies. It's so good. It's so good. It plays best at 3 in my opinion, very well at 4, but at 4 I kind of start shifting towards Battle for Rokugan, which is not as good of a game in my opinion. Board Game Geek rankings I think have it higher, but my opinion for this video, because that's what this series is, Battle for Rokugan is very good. I mean, if I have 4 players, I'm kind of leaning that way. But City of Spies at 3 is such a ridiculously good time. Lots of strategy, not a lot of table space. It gives you a solid game in 45 to 60 minutes. It's so ridiculously good. That's City of Spies 53. 52 has actually gone heavily up the list. 52 is Bunny Kingdom. This was 89 last year. 89, so this one has jumped up a lot. And partially because I talked about recency bias already, this game gets played a decent amount. You see, it's my wife, it's Rena's, one of her favorite games. And so we play this one a lot, because when she wants to play a game, when she gets to pick, Bunny Kingdom is like one of 4 or 5 games that consistently get picked by her. And I love it every time I play it. The strategies you can pursue, the options on the table. I exclusively play it with the expansion, whatever it's called. Something in the Sky, Pie in the Sky, is that what it's called? It sounds ridiculous when I'm saying it, but I think that's what the expansion is called. So I exclusively play it with the expansion. I'm going to have to look it up, I'm sorry. It is the... No, it's just Bunny Kingdom in the Sky. That's all. I don't know why I added Pie. Bunny Kingdom in the Sky, that's what the expansion is called. It adds a cloud board that you can start running around trying to get things. It adds a lot of chaos to the experience, but chaos that I think pays off very nicely. overall, Bunny Kingdom from Richard Garfield. It has drafting, which is one of my favorite mechanisms. It has a degree of area control, but not in the traditional sense. It's lots of powers and abilities. Well, not really. More drafting, and the powers and abilities are more in the form of you get these scrolls that will basically be points within the game, but then the way you try to get those points and the way you combine things, it's just such a fun drafting experience. Plus, you get to keep 2 cards at a time. You're going to be, depending on player count, you might be drafting 15 cards and keeping 2 at a time. That first draft is always satisfying, as you have players literally just going, like you have so many choices. You have 15 cards and you can only keep 2, and there's so many good choices in your hand. It's what I love about drafting. It's that tenseness that gives you that moment of what will I keep, what will I pick, what's going to stay right now. It's such a good experience. From 89 was already good. Top 100 is always good, but 52 is better, and that's because Bunny Kingdom is amazing. Like, I got this game way back when. I got this game when they were still printing it with a small board. I don't know if you know what that was, but they used to print it with a small board, and then they upgraded it. I got the upgraded board. You had to pay like $10. They gave you free. They basically just charged shipping for it. Either way, Bunny Kingdom and the Bunny Kingdom in the Sky expansion, that's my number 52. Which brings us to 51, which, if you've been keeping track, is the last new to me game. By the way, for context, the 7 Kickstarter games are Empire's Age of Discovery, Skulls of Sedlec, Assassin's Creed, Destinies, Rum Bones, Gloomhaven, and Machina Arcana are the 7 or 6, depending on Gloomhaven, Kickstarter games. This last one, number 51, is a retail game. It is new to me for this year, and I have to imagine it'll be here next year, because this one, gotta duck down and get that. This one is Paleo. Paleo. There's only so many places I can keep games over here. Paleo. This is from Z-Man Games. Do we have another Z-Man Games here? No. Z-Man Games was my last video. We ended with a Z-Man. Hey, that's funny. My last video also ended with a Z-Man game, with Pandemic Legacy, Season 0. Well, actually, I haven't played that one. Pandemic Legacy, just the concept of Pandemic Legacy. But Paleo from Z-Man Games is such a good game. So delightful. The Pandemic Legacy... Now I'm just all over the place. Both start with P. It's confusing. Paleo is a cooperative survival game set in, I guess, Paleolithic times, I assume, because it's called Paleo. Basically, you have a bunch of tribesmen or cave people, or whoever you have. They're trying to survive is what they're trying to do. They're trying to kill various mammoths and basically just deal with the saber-toothed tiger about to jump down their back, which lends itself to the cooperative style of gameplay, where every single turn you're going to shuffle up in the primary deck, you're going to distribute them evenly or roughly evenly to the players, then you draw cards, 3 cards on the top, and you pick 1 card based on the back of the card. The back of the card gives you a clue, but not really a full answer what it's doing. So you might know that you're probably going foraging, you're probably going crafting, maybe, who knows. You flip over the cards all at the same time, you each grab 1, you flip 1, and then you decide what you're doing, because you can have to deal with your own card, or you can work with others to deal with their cards, depending on the card you draw. Some cards don't let you help, some cards do let you help. Together you're trying to basically survive in the wilds, which means you have to spend some time crafting goods, you spend some time foraging, getting food, getting wood, getting stone, trying to basically get the equipment you need to survive. Along the way, your goal is to basically tell your tribe's tale, to tell the story of your tribe, which is why you basically have to get 5 like cave paintings are, impacting the idea of your legacy before you have too many people die along the way. That's the goal of the game. You will die, that's not the question. The question is, can you tell your story before you die? From there, the game starts adding modules, because that first mission is going to take you a while to actually defeat it or beat it. I imagine. It took us a while. Maybe you're just better. You're probably better. I probably shouldn't say things like this. But anyways, Paleo. It took me like, I think 4, maybe 3 plays till I beat the first mission. Then we started adding more modules to the game, because you start mixing up the cards and adding more modules, and the modules start changing the way you go through it, because you need that first game or 2 under your belt so you can start getting a feel for the sequencing, so you can start getting a feel for what it needs to survive. And once you get that under your belt, you start with a new module, and you have to learn things all over again. It has that sense of exploration. There's a word for it. What's the word when you have something there? You have emergent narrative. It has emergent narrative. It has not, text-based story. There's nothing you read where you're like, oh, the tribe discovered an elephant. Nothing like that. The emergent narrative is a sense that as you play the game, a story develops on its own. You encounter a wolf and you tame it, and it becomes your pet. It becomes your guide. You find a mammoth and it destroys you. But then a little bit later, as you start leveling up and as you encounter other tribesmen, you can come back and re-tackle that mammoth. The mammoth shows up again because eventually you shuffle the deck and the cards come back. And so that mammoth that took you out the first time, that you barely survived with your life, you walked away with a wound, you come back to it now, and this time you're coming hunting with tribes and with more spears, with more weapons you spend time and energy building up, and you take it down, and you draw that cave painting on the wall, and a part of your tribe's history is inscribed forever. Not a single word of that is written in the story, but it happens in the story of the game. The game, it tells such a good story of survival, and it takes time to learn the game and to get through it and to figure out what you're looking for. it's such a good experience, and the modules keep it variable, high degree of variability. Like, I don't know when I'll actually have played this enough to really fully go through it, and whenever I do, that's fine, because there's already an expansion for this game. It is such a good experience. I'm so enamored by Paleo. I'm so enamored by the gameplay. I haven't played it solo. I kind of don't want to, because I've been having fun enjoying and experiencing this game with others. But if it doesn't get played enough, I might just start playing it solo, because I just like... I like what Paleo is doing, both as a gameplay that offers a strong amount of tactical choice, of tactical decisions, a strong amount of learning, and learning that's satisfying. Like, I'm not a big fan of systems that force you to play through the game and lose so that you can play through the game and win. But Paleo is an exception to that rule. Paleo is one of those times where I kind of feel like the learning is almost part of the story. The losing and dying and having to reset the scenario and come back at it feels like part of the story, and I normally hate that. Normally, if you tell me a game has failed forward, I'm like, boom, I am much more interested now, because you shouldn't force me to redo the thing in order to experience the thing to its fullest potential. Something about Paleo makes it an exception to that genre of mechanics that I don't love, because I do clearly love Paleo. That has been a list. These are your 60 through 51. There are 5 videos left. I don't know why I held up 10 fingers. There are 5 videos left coming in this series. We've already done the first half of the top 100. There are 50 more games to come, and then we'll be done for the year, and we can go back to your regularly scheduled content, which is, I mean, let's be honest, it's just more board games. In any case, until next time, this never really truly ends. I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and as always, have a good one.